So much about the
What would you say if I turned into all the things you love to hate? And on my way comes crashing through the rotten beams and window panes.
Hey everybody, we are back. It is episode 27. I'm sorry it took so long to come back and give you your next fix, but better late than never, right? I guess. Just been really busy lately, really tired. I don't know why I'm tired all the time now. Maybe I'm just old. Maybe it's just the time of year. I love this time of year. We are in full swing of my favorite time of the year. Fall, gloomy and cool and maybe a little wet, you know. I know a lot of people don't share that same feeling, but I love it. I love the fall here in the Midwest. My favorite time of the year. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? The GTA Trilogy is getting a remastered and re-release. That's awesome. And, you know, while everybody's still waiting for that next installment, that Grand Theft Auto 6, which seems like it's never going to come out, they're giving us this. I mean, which is funny because usually, you know, you'd get another re-release of GTA 5. But I think that's already on the new systems now, so they've already done that. So I think they painted themselves in the corner. So they're doing that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. The Xbox Series X released a couple more options for expanding the memory on the Xbox Series X and S. So that's kind of interesting. And that's going to tie into a bigger conversation I want to have about modern gaming. Man, something really tragic happened with Alec Baldwin on a movie that he's working on right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Man, it is just, it's something else. And we're also going to talk about this new Nintendo Online expansion pack. You know, everyone's talking about it. Everyone seems to have an opinion. I do not do any online gaming right now, and for the most part, I really never have. So, but I figured I'd cover that a little bit since we are a gaming channel, and you know, people do care about that outside of me. And you know, there's going to be other things we're gonna talk about here. I just got done seeing Dune today, the new Dune movie, and I'm going to talk about that. I was going to do a separate review video or whatever, but you know, this is Friday night. I'm taping this and then recording it, and I'm gone for the rest of the weekend. I just don't have time to do a separate thing. So we're going to talk about what I thought about the new Dune. Yeah, so Grand Theft Auto, the first, well, I shouldn't say the first three, but the trilogy, 3 of them are getting re-released and remastered, and it's going to be, let me see, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, which 3 I've never really played, and I think I have it. I think I just picked it up to complete the set, but Vice City is really where I came into to doing anything with Grand Theft Auto. What can I say? I love the fact that they're re-releasing this, and they're re-releasing these on like everything here. The PlayStation 4, 5, the Xbox Series X and S, the Xbox One, and the Xbox One S, I guess it would be. Okay. And then Nintendo Switch and PC. So, I mean, everything's getting them. And the The digital release is November 11th, so that's coming up pretty soon. And then the physical release comes out on December 6th. So, yeah, I mean, I have all of these games. Well, I guess it would be the PlayStation 2. But, I am such a sucker for this stuff, especially if it's coming out on the Switch. If anything gets remastered and re-released out there, and it's on the Switch, I'm going to pick it up. I of any system that I have right now that I have just been going to town on as far as picking up games for this year has been the Switch. A lot of limited run games, though. Most of them, I'd say about 95% are probably through limited run. But, GTA, those are the three that really, really started everything up. I mean, 3 was the one. Was really the one. And then, Vice City just took it to that next level. God, I just remember hours and hours of playing Vice City. And just how much fun it was. And just, you would spend hours and hours doing nothing. Just driving around and crashing cars just because you could. I love the fact that they're doing this. And, I know that they're doing upgrades and remasters here, so they are freshening it up. I did have it written down here somewhere, what exactly they're doing to it. And it's gone. No, I don't know where I put it. I don't know what I did with it here. I had it here, and then I didn't. It was here, and now it's gone. Yeah, I don't know. I'm totally not prepared, I guess. Anyway, yeah, so that's the thing. Go ahead, pick yourself up one. And, I'm really curious to see, what the difference is really going to be. And I'm really surprised that it's coming out on the Switch. But, Nintendo's a different animal today a little bit more. They're a lot more loose on what they're allowing on their system. And then sometimes they're not. Nintendo, jeez. We're going to talk about Nintendo, coming up here towards the end. Nintendo being Nintendo. So the Xbox Series X and S are getting 2 more options as far as expandable memory for the systems. I believe they come with 512 gigabytes already on there, which is ridiculously low. Or maybe is it a terabyte? Is it a terabyte? I don't know. I don't have one, so, and I'm not going to get one. We'll get into that here too. But yeah, this isn't a surprise. I mean, with these new systems, you're gonna have to have something. Because, these games are just so massive now. And they already had the 1 terabyte out, okay? That one's been out. I think that came out almost at the same time that the system got released. And so the 1 terabyte card is going for $219, which is what it's been all along, okay? But now they're coming out with a 2 terabyte and then a 512 gigabyte one. Okay, and the 512 gigabyte one is gonna retail for $139, so $140. And then the 2 terabyte one, Seagate expansion card, is gonna go for around $400. And holy cow! Wow, $400. Good Lord. I mean, and it's funny because, every article that I read that kind of covered this a little bit was they all had the same line in there. It's like, for $400, that's more than just buying a brand new Xbox Series S. And yeah, yeah, $400. Well, I mean, what does the Series X go for? That's $500. So you're telling me that I mean, Jesus, I mean $400. Now, is that's a lot. No, that is a lot. And I know that this is like a proprietary card. I mean, I have a solid state external hard drive, that it's very fast here. That I back up all my recordings and all my videos and all the other stuff, backup ROMs and just whatever I use for any of my multimedia stuff that I do here on my channel. So you need something that's big, because anytime you're doing video, especially video, that memory goes fast. And I want to say for that, all said and done, because I had to buy the memory stick, and then I had to put it in its little case that acts like kind of like a heat sink. I think it was a little bit under $200, and that's for 2 terabytes. Okay, that's for 2 terabytes. Now, I understand that this is probably a slightly little bit more of a simpler item here that I'm talking about, as far as, my external hard drive. But I mean, it's not $200 less simpler. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, to me, this just seems ridiculous. And yeah, you could say, well, Dan, I mean, the 1 terabyte is $219. So I mean, 400 is kind of in line. I'm like, yeah, you're right. But that 219 for the 1 terabyte is ridiculous too. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And it's funny because what really made me want to talk about this is because, and I didn't even watch the full video, but I liked the heading on his video. And Mad Little Pixel did a video, and it said something to the effect of, can you afford to be a console gamer today? And that's funny. I mean, let's just assume that you're going to find one of these systems, the PS5 or a Xbox Series X. Let's just assume you can, and that you're buying it at retail. As I get a drink here. So retail, what, $500? So, let's say that you find it. Now you want to add another 400 on there? I mean, shit, you are talking almost $1,000. You tell me that's not crazy. Tell me why. I mean, shit, that's PC gaming there, ladies and gentlemen. And we're already there. These systems, let's not kid ourselves here. And this is what I want to talk about as far as modern gaming goes. And God, I am sorry if this is sounding ranty, because it is kind of a rant. It is a rant. And I'm sorry if it's kind of negative, but look, I just want to say, I'm not knocking anybody who enjoys modern gaming. I get it. And maybe this is just the old school of me. I'm falling behind the times here. And I know that. But at the same time, too, I think of a lot of what I have to say isn't unreasonable. Because, I'm in one of those first generations of people where video games became like the norm in our lives, whether we were kids or now adults, So what I'm getting at here is now at $500 if you can find the system, and then if you want to add another 2, so that's $700 or $4. Now, I mean, that's, ladies and gentlemen, that is a huge investment. Not to mention buying the games. And you know what? I'm sorry, but even at that 2 terabyte, that puts you at $900 now. That's still not going to be enough with the size of these games, because none of these games run off of these discs, or if they do, very few. Because that is where we're at with modern gaming. A lot of these games, you're this like PC, you're downloading it onto the system, and then taking up all that space. And once you fill that up, let's say you have a nice little collection of games going now you gotta, I want to play this game, there's no room. Which one are you going to get rid of? And shit, man. So here's the thing. That's a big decision now. What game am I going to get rid of? Because what did it take to get it on that system? So let me take you in on a little thing I want to talk about here as far as modern gaming goes. Because as much as I thought I wanted to be into modern gaming for this go-round, it turns out I really didn't want to. And I didn't know it until I took another step up. Thank God for the coffee. Okay. So I don't have this generation, but I did, and I think I talked about it last time. I have an Xbox Series X, Xbox One X. So the last generation. But still very much in the modern era, right? And I hate it. I hate it. I played Fallen Jedi, and for whatever, I loved it. I love it. And I'm saying I don't love the games. But the ones that I have been able to play, look, man, and a lot of you are going to be laughing here because, hey, Mr. Late to the Party here, Dan Brosman, right? And this has been going on for years now, and I'm complaining about it. Like I'm the one that broke the news here. But just bear with me, guys, because this is my therapy for what I'm going through. My modern gaming crisis of conscience here. Okay? God damn, man. So I get a game the other day. It's a Tom Clancy, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Whatever. And I still haven't played it. I turn it on, and it's like, 3 hours to update. I'm like, what? What are you talking about here? 3 hours to update? I'm like, what are you talking about here? And then, I just was like, I don't know, whatever. I walked away, and then I came back, and I'm like, I still got to update this thing. I'm still downloading, huge files on this thing. I still haven't played it, because I was like, this is ridiculous. And then, I'm talking to other people. They're like, oh, no, that's normal. You know, what I usually do is I buy the game, and then I pop it in, and I let it update overnight. Then I play it the next day. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So you don't play it until the next day? Holy shit. No, man. That's ridiculous. And, I know that not all games are like that, but I mean, the fact that a lot of games are, that's crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy town. And here's the thing. So there's two things to talk about here. There's two separate things. There's the updating of the game, and then there's the just plain, it looks like I'm downloading the game. I have a disc, which is basically just the license to say I bought the game, and now I'm just downloading it. It's just a digital download. There's little to nothing on this disc because they're just not big enough to hold these games anymore. Which I don't know why you just wouldn't add another disc on there, but I mean, I guess you could. They probably don't want to because of price, or who the hell knows. But so to not even have it on there, I'm not a digital guy really. I don't like just playing game. I want to have that physical game on there. I want to know that I own it. And I don't want to hear this shit like, well, technically, Dan, you don't own that game. You just bought the license to play that game. Shut up. Okay? Like when I bought an NES cart back in the day, that's my game. That's my game cart. The game is on here. I don't need to go to an outside source to make sure this game works. It just works because I bought this thing. So now I buy this, whatever it is today, and I don't get that game. I don't get the game. I just get the license. Before you would get the game and the license. Now you get nothing. Right? So what the hell, man? And now comes the part to where it's like, you got to update. Now, I've already dealt with this a little bit with the Nintendo Switch because, it's the same thing with that. But it's nowhere as ridiculous as, these wait times I got to do for, these Xbox One games that I've been trying to play. Which is asinine. And the fact that they, these developers, now these companies just release games. Now, don't worry, we'll release a 10 gig update, that fixes everything since it's not ready on day one, which is ridiculous. Where else, what other product in the world do you buy that's messed up and you have to get it fixed later and you're okay with that? I can't think of anything. That would be like me buying a car and being like, oh, you know what, you're going to have to bring it in a month because, the axle is weak and we need to reinforce it and you're going to have to bring it in and, but no big deal. That's just, that'll be in a further update down the road, or if you find something else that's messed up with this car, now I know those are called recalls and they're not good. It isn't like, car companies are going, well, maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe they are. But, you don't let product out that's not finished or that's not up to standard. No, anywhere else, no one's going to be okay with that. But for some reason with video games, we're okay with that. Or other people are. I'm not. That's dumb. And yeah, that's a big reason why I got out of PC gaming. Because you'd have to download these patches and blah, 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 blah. What a pain in the ass. I'll go back to console. What you see is what you get. I don't have to worry about downloading anything. And guess what? Boom, we're here. So the people that are like, well, I'm a PC gamer now. Well, yeah, it doesn't matter because console gaming is the same thing now. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And if you wanna argue it, you're just splitting hairs at this point. Basically. Guys, 3 hours. Is that the norm? Both of these games were like 3 hours. Is that really the norm? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know because if this is it, I'm sure as hell not going to get one of these new systems. Hell no. And that's what I was at when I was at Mo GameCon. And one of the guys that knows me there said, hey, man, did you ever end up getting one of the new consoles? I said, no. And I said, I don't think I'm going to. Because I really don't think I need to. It's funny. It's funny because my first year at Mo GameCon, one of the first guys I went to see in a panel was Radical Reggie. If you're listening to this, you know who Radical Reggie is, part of the Metal Jesus crew. And I asked him a question. I said, hey, with you being a collector of physical media, what are you going to do at some point when, physical media on video games isn't anything anymore and it's all digital? And he's like, There are thousands of games that I can collect on other systems that came before. He's like, I'll be okay. And you know what? He's right. He's 100% right. And I have another convention coming up here. I have the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee coming up. And you know what? I'm going to lean heavy on, I think Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Because I think that's going to be where it's at for me. Yeah, I think that generation was the last generation that was really, a modern system, but without all this bullshit that goes to the massive updates and, hey, the game's maybe on here, but not really on here. So, everybody, we're well into the digital realm now. There's this physical media that they're selling us is a facade. It's not real. It's, and look, I know for this generation, the PS4 and the Xbox One X, I know there are games where the whole game is on there. And I know there's like re-releases where they'll have all the updates and all the DLC on there. But, I mean, for the most part, this is digital. And definitely with the new systems. Because the new systems, like the Xbox Series X, I know for a fact that, so they'll have you'll buy the game and it'll say, for Xbox Series X and the Xbox One. But really, ultimately, what you're getting on that disc, that physical media, is a copy of the full game for the Xbox One. And now you have to download it'll make you download the game that's made for the Xbox Series X. So basically, you're not even getting the game for the current generation. You have to still download that, which is amazeballs. Now, like I said at the beginning of this rant, I said, this is just me. This is just how I feel. I very much have a hard time with change. I mean, I'm the guy that goes to, the restaurant and orders the same thing. I really, really have a hard time changing. That's just me. But on the same side of it, I don't think that what I'm saying is unreasonable either, ultimately. But, you have this next generation of gamers coming up, people that are, 10, 15 years younger than me, that this is going to be the norm. Heck, my son growing up, he just turned 8. This is going to be the norm for him going forward. He's not going to know the difference. Well, he will maybe a little bit more than other kids because I'm a collector here, and one day this will all be his. But ultimately, this is what he's going to know, because this is what's going to happen. And it was funny because while we were talking about at conventions and in forums, what's going to happen when everything's digital, it was already here. We were talking about it, but we didn't realize that it was already here. And maybe we knew it was here on some level, but it's here on a much bigger level than we even thought at the time. So, all right. Well, that's all I got to say about that. Thanks for letting me rant. And, that's all I got to say about that. Meow. Wow. I ran across this headline last night. You lay down to go to sleep, but you're not really laying down to go to sleep because you're going to be on your phone for about another 20 minutes to a half hour. Or who am I kidding? Another hour. And I came across these headlines, and, evidently, and this is horrible, Alex Baldwin was involved in a fatal discharge of a prop firearm that leaves crew members dead. And this was on IGN. That was the headline for them. And I was like, what? And I've read a couple articles and updates, and there's not a lot of like solid information coming out. There's a lot of what I wouldn't call necessarily facts, or we don't know if they're facts yet. But this was on a production in New Mexico on an indie film called Rust. And something happened where he had a prop firearm, fired it, and it killed the movie's cinematographer and wounded the director. Jeez. And like I said, they really haven't said what happened, but in one of the articles that I was reading here, and I'm not saying this is fact because we don't know this yet, but they were saying that there was an email circulating in one of the unions for that kind of covers the people, the prop masters and that, and they were kind of saying that it was loaded with a live round. Now that I don't know if I believe that, and if you really think about it, that doesn't sound. Why would you have live rounds on set anyway? I don't know. I I've never worked on a movie, so but boy, I guess Alex was pretty shaken up. I mean, amongst other people too. From what it sounds like, this was just an accident, just a horrible accident. I don't want to say the name of the person that got killed because I don't know. This feels like it's too soon, and it doesn't feel right that I should name this person by name. But right away, this story just reminds me of, and this is from like my generation, but maybe you'll know where I'm going with this. But The Crow, when Brandon Lee got killed in that one scene there towards the end of The Crow, and it was with a prop firearm, and he's in this scene where he goes into the main gangsters headquarters here, and he's on that conference table, and everyone's shooting at him or whatever else, and that scene's still in there, but they had to get another actor to fill in for him to finish that movie. And I can't remember what exactly happened there. But, that's the thing, though. A lot of times, these props, these firearms, even though they're shooting blanks, can still be so dangerous. But that's really all we know about that for sure. I will update that later on if we find something else out, or I'm sure. As soon as you turn on your phone and go on the internet, that pops up right away. So you guys will all know that before probably the next episode. But geez, my heart goes out to the family of the person who died. Everyone just kind of, think of those people and be glad that it isn't somebody that you know personally. So just a horrible thing. I'm not a big online gaming guy. I don't know. I'm not. I kind of like gaming off the grid, guys. I game off the grid for sure. I get on there every once in a while, and I would play, Mario Kart online. But, and back in the day, Ages of Empires, and then Modern Warfare 2 on the PC. But that's pretty much the extent of my of online. And then I do Minecraft, but that's just for updates. So I wouldn't really consider that online because I'm not playing with anybody else. I'm not actually playing on a server with other people. I'm just in my own world. So yeah, not anything to do with that. But so I figured I'd talk about this because some people were pretty not happy with what Nintendo released. And I will say, I love the Nintendo Switch. The Switch has been my thing, and it seems like that's going to be my favorite go-to system right now into the foreseeable future. But the one thing that I have been disappointed, because I did want to get into the online gaming and I'll pay for that service, but for whatever reason, it just seems like Nintendo's been really bare bones with their online presence as far as the Switch goes. Definitely nothing that makes me say, yeah, I'll pay for that. And when it comes to gaming, a lot of times I don't have trouble plopping down some cash for video gaming. But it's just like, yeah, no, I mean, I can get onto the online store. I don't need the service for that. And I'm not going to get on there just to game with people I don't know. I mean, I do know some people that are on there, but I don't know. It just never has seemed like they have done a very good job with actually, making a very vibrant, culture as far as what they have online as far as the Switch goes. It definitely not compared to what like the Xbox has with the Game Pass, and then what Sony has for the PlayStation Plus. Now look, I get it, guys. I'm just kind of repeating what other people have said, but this is over the years. Like, I have heard this before, and I've never had anything to do with Xbox Game Pass or the PlayStation Plus, but I have friends that do, and they love both of them. And I have friends that also are a part of, the Nintendo Online, and they're just like, meh. And I'm like, I know, I want to pay for it, but I just don't see what is there for me. So let's kind of run through this here. Because, there's only a certain point I can keep talking about this when I really don't have, a horse in the race, I guess. So for right now, if you just want to do the regular online shit, right? You can there's two options. You got the individual, and then you have the family. So the individual is just for you, for one person, and you can pay for, there's 1 month for $3.99, 3 months for $7.99, and 12 months for $19.99. Okay, not bad. Now you have the family member, package, and that's up to 8 account holders. And I could only see one price for that, and that was for 12 months, and that's $34.99. So I guess not really too bad. So I guess, I'm not saying that the online for Nintendo isn't a good deal. I just don't know what it offers for me that I want. Okay. So now we come to this new thing, this expansion, this online plus expansion pack. So they added this thing called the expansion pack. Okay. So let me run down to what this expansion pack is first before we talk about the price, because I don't know why you would pay for this. Okay, so as of right now, as far as I can figure, this is the 3 things that they have on there that you're going to pay extra for. You're going to pay for Nintendo 64 games. So now you're going to be able to play Nintendo 64 games on there. At present, when this thing launches, which I don't know when it launches. Maybe it's already launched. I don't know. There's only 9 games for the Nintendo 64. So, I mean, not exactly, celebrating a large part of the collection here. Okay. Then the second thing is Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Happy Home Paradise. You'll forgive me for the people out there that are listening that are Animal Crossing fans. My knowledge is very limited, but I have a feeling that that's like the updates and maybe an expansion pack. Now that's only going to be available where you have to have this extra, the online plus the expansion pack. So from what I know of it, it doesn't seem like that kind of feels like, hey, if you don't want the other things and you're only wanting this Animal Crossing stuff, that kind of sucks for those people, because it's like now you're kind of holding their feet to the fire going, well, here it is. If you want it, fine. And I guess they've been getting this stuff for free up until now. Okay, I get that. Now you want a little bit of cash for your troubles. I think you can do it in a different way that doesn't seem like you're sticking it to these people, because it kind of feels like you are. I'm talking to Nintendo. Okay, so anyway, now we come to the third thing here. And that's Sega Genesis games. You get a collection of Sega Genesis games. Hey, Dan, how many games are there? Oh, I'm glad you asked. 14 games. Okay, so you get 14 Sega Genesis games. The Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and Happy Home Paradise, I guess, collection or whatever it is. And then the Nintendo 64 games, 9 of them. Okay. That being said, I'm assuming that the 9 Nintendo 64 games is just a starting point, and eventually they'll just add more. Same thing with the Sega Genesis games. But still, that is not a lot. If you are trying to sell people on this to get this, what you just offered doesn't say buy me. It says who the hell cares. Anyway, now let's talk about prices. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to do back-to-back here. So first, let me refresh your memory. For an online-only individual membership for 12 months for a year, it was $19.99. Now, if you want the online plus the expansion pack for an individual for a year, it's $49.99. That's $30 more for the year. For 9 Nintendo 64 games, for, 14 Sega Genesis games, and there's Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Happy whatever. Happy whoever cares. Now for the family plan. So for just the online, you'll remember for a whole year, it was $34.99. So $35. Now for the family on the online plus expansion pack for a whole year, it's $79.99. So, like I said, I don't do online gaming, so really I don't care. But if I'm going to talk about this thing, I'm going to go, yeah, that's kind of bonkers there. So you're going to tell me that this stuff is worth a little bit more than double the price for those three things that I just mentioned. Yeah, no. No, it's not. It's not. And so let's take it. So the Xbox Game Pass, if you're just talking about like the normal Game Pass, and I know they have an Ultimate, but we're not going to talk about that. But the Xbox Game Pass is $9.99, so $10 a month, which, if you're doing the math, is more than the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack. But from what I understand of it, and I have looked into this because I was thinking about getting it when I got my Xbox One X, it's a hell of a lot. You get a lot with the Game Pass. So when you say $10 a month and then you look at what you're getting, you're like, okay, that seems worth it. You don't say that with the Nintendo thing. Okay, so now the PlayStation Plus. PlayStation Plus breaks it down like this. You can go a month for $9.99, 3 months for $24.99, and for a whole year, it's $59.99. And I'm not really sure like how much that entails because, I mean, like I said, I did a little bit of research here, but at a certain point, I'm like, I'm not getting any of this, so who the hell cares? But I do know that from what I've heard, that what you get on the PlayStation Plus is vastly more than what Nintendo's offering, even with this expansion pack. So I guess my question here for Nintendo is, I don't know where you're going with this. I mean, even if you dump a ton of games, more games in for Nintendo 64 and the Sega Genesis, I just don't see a lot of people wanting to throw that money out there for that. Now, the Animal Crossing, I think, is going to be where it's at. Because it feels to me like you're kind of holding that thing hostage. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe there's another way to get that stuff separately, to pay for that. But from what I understand and what I've read on their website, I don't see any other way to get that. So that and if that's the case, that's pretty shitty. Because, who cares about Nintendo 64? Look, I love Nintendo 64, but Nintendo 64 games aren't bringing the boys to the yard. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And I love my Sega Genesis. Those games ain't bringing the boys to the yard either. Okay? You got to get some milk jugs for that. Okay? Anyway, yeah. I don't know. Hey, I guess that's all I got to say about it, really. It's just, I'm sure people out there are gonna flip for that, but to say, hey, it's double. It's like, okay, good luck with that. I mean, especially with the Sega Genesis part, because I'm like, there's a million ways to get those games. I mean, you got a PS3, get that compilation disc, I mean, what does that run like now? Like $10? Or I don't know. There's probably, well, shit, if you're on Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, especially PlayStation Plus, you probably could get a compilation, download the compilation game digitally. It just seems like it's there's not a lot of incentive there. I don't know. That's just me. So today I got out and I went to see the new movie, the new rendition of Dune. And I'm going to say, I hate saying that I'm not going to do spoilers, or I'm going to try not to, but there's no, I'm horrible talking about movies, but I'm going to talk about it because I loved this movie. So, if you're going to go, if you really want to watch this, then right now is where you want to end this podcast episode. And it was great having you here. Thank you. Good night and goodbye. Now we're going to talk about Dune. And I wouldn't say I'm a huge Dune fan, but I enjoyed the movie from the 80s. And the one from the 80s was weird and creepy and just, I don't know. It was some funky ass sci-fi that back in the day people thought was going to rival Star Wars, and obviously it never did. But it kind of found itself in this little corner niche of sci-fi. And it was a good movie. It wasn't a great movie, but especially for at the time, and I've always enjoyed that movie. But the one thing that always it's dated like unbelievably. And that's the problem with a lot of sci-fi movies, is that a lot of them don't date well. And sometimes I'm okay with that, but like the Dune from I want to say it's the early 80s. Late 70s or early 80s, it really, really doesn't age well. But I will say, my love for Dune really came not from just that movie, but the Sega CD actually has a Dune game on it, and it follows that early 80s movie to a T. And it's based on that movie, and it is really, really good. I love that game. I still have it. Every once in a while I pull it out and play it. I love that game, and it's not like those real-time strategy games. This is different. This is vastly different, and I don't know if that game came out on any other system but the Sega CD. I don't think it did. Maybe PC. I'm not sure. So anyway, I seen a trailer for this new Dune a while ago, and I'm trying to remember the director's name, but I can't. But I know he's really good. And I was like, oh, wow, they're going to redo Dune. I'm like, that's so cool. And then I found out, they're going to do it in 2 parts, which is fantastic, right? And, when they redo stuff, I always get nervous because sometimes, and I've talked about this in other episodes where I don't like when they like to reboot stuff or redo stuff. But this is one of the few times that it really needed to be. And it's not like it hasn't been before. I know there's been made for TV movie renditions of this in the past, and they're always just very okay at the very best. But then they had this come out. And right away when I seen the trailer and I started seeing some of the actors that they had gotten in this movie, I was in right away. I mean, they got Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Josh Brolin, the actress's name, the actress that plays Mary Jane in Spider-Man. I can't think of her name now. She's so beautiful. You have Dave Bautista, and there's I'm missing some other ones, but a whole bunch of them. And it was like I loved each of the castings, and that never happens. Because sometimes, you get the castings and it's like, man, I loved everybody. And then there was just this one character and this one actor. And I'm like, ugh, I wish that would have been different. Not in this movie. Every single casting was spot on awesome. And what was really great about this, and now, see, I have HBO Max. So this is one of those movies that got released on HBO Max at the same time I went to the movies. I went to the movies to see this thing because I want to support this thing. I want it to make money because I really want that second one to be made now. I don't know why WB does this. Well, I know why they do it because they want to boost subscribers to HBO Max because they own HBO. Anywho, I just answered my own question. So anyway, where was I? See, the thing with this is the way they made this movie. It was so epic. I mean, this thing had me hooked from minute one. They could have fucked this thing up just as easy as they got it right. But they had this thing rolling from minute one. The visuals were out of sight, okay? And just not the special effects, because you can do wondrous things with special effects today. But the shots that they had in this movie and the way that it gave scope to what was going on was tremendous, okay? The storyline, they followed it very much closely to what the novels and what the original movie had, which was nice. Because sometimes, you get these directors in here and they got their special ideas and none of that here. This guy kept to the story. He kept it true and I fucking love that. I love when they do that. And the music that sets the tone for the whole movie. It is spot on. The whole time. I had goosebumps for 90% of this movie. And I just kept sitting there thinking to myself, this is great, and thank God they're not messing it up. I'm like, I'm loving this thing. I can't tell you how many movies I go to, especially after remakes, and just sit there and they knock it out of the park. I am so happy. Guys, even if you have HBO Max, don't watch it on HBO Max. Not at first. Because it's funny because when I got home, I had a little bit of extra time and I'm like, well, let me just throw it on there. Dude, it totally wasn't the same. It totally wasn't the same. Go into a theater with the sound and that big screen. And if you have IMAX, and I'm definitely going to have to go see this thing in IMAX. It is so epic. And I think that's where I'm going to leave it right there. And I didn't really say anything about spoilers. Man, look at me. Oh, man. All right. Well, see, I'm doing better, guys. I really am. But yeah, truly, though, Dune is a great movie. It's part one. I know the second one's already been greenlit, even though they're not currently in production. But yeah, go see it, support it, and then probably in a couple years, hopefully the second one will come out and end the story, because I'm pretty sure we're about halfway through the story right now. The movie in the 80s was only one movie. But this one, they kind of stretch it out a little bit. And that's another thing here. They kind of stretch it out, but it doesn't feel like it's filler in there. Everything feels relevant to the story and the pacing of it. It never drags. Now, I will say this. I was already into Dune anyway. So I can see if somebody doesn't like this movie. I could definitely see that. It's a sci-fi movie, but it's definitely a different kind of sci-fi. It's not necessarily as flashy and constant action as like maybe a Star Wars kind of deal goes. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of action. But, it is very much story driven. There's a lot of questions about like faith and just deeper questions being evaluated and explored. It's a great watch. I got to tell you, 2.5 hours. I will never say that was wasted time on this movie. Well, all right, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it for this time. I'm sorry it took so long for me to get back on the saddle here. I've been really trying to concentrate on my YouTube channel, get more videos out. So hopefully I can get back to a more of a schedule for my podcast episodes. Not making any promises because, everything gets crazy, and then before you know it, 3 weeks have gone by, and I'm going, my gosh, I haven't even put out an episode in like 3 weeks. So, all right, guys, but thanks for tuning in. It's been a real pleasure hanging out with you guys. I hope that all of you have a great weekend, and until I see you again, good night and goodbye.